Hi everyone, welcome to Advanced Studio Classroom's Culture Chronicles. I'm your host Peter and I'm joined as always by Rebecca. Hello Rebecca.
It's great to be here, Peter. Hello everybody, welcome.
So Rebecca, today we have, or I should say this month, we have a cultural event to tell you all about. And to know about it though, you're going to have to know a special word, and that word is Janeite. Janeite. Rebecca, what do you think Janeite means?
Well, Jane stands for the name Jane. Now we'll have to guess which Jane are we talking about? There
That's right.
sure are a lot of Janes in the world. And then ite just means belonging to. So belonging to Jane.
Right. If you live in Taipei, you're a Taipeiite or Taipei citizen. Ite, you'll also sometimes hear Ian or ish put on the ends of words. If someone is from Scotland, they are Scottish. But you could also call them a Scottite. So anyway, that's the idea behind the word Janeite. And as Rebecca said, what Jane are we talking about? We're talking about Jane Austen, the British novelist, very popular, who wrote Pride and Prejudice and several other works. And this year, 2025, is the 250th anniversary of Jane Austen's birth. And you clever advanced readers may recall that back in January of this year, we did a feature called The Art of English. We're still doing it each month. And the book that we kicked off the feature with back in January was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So, what does this have to do with Culture Chronicles? Well, from September 12th to the 21st, there is in Bath, England, a city in the southwestern part of England, which happens to be Jane Austen's hometown, there is the Jane Austen Festival, and it is going to be attended, or should be attended, by Janeites everywhere. So ite it means someone who is from that place, but it also can mean someone who loves the place, who is very enthusiastic about the place, or in this case, the person. Rebecca, have you read much of Jane Austen's work?
Well, I read Pride and Prejudice in high school. And of course, after high school, I watched it. BBC had a TV series based on Pride and Prejudice, and they also made it into a movie. So yes, I've read one Jane Austen novel, and I've actually watched movies on other of her novels. Mm. Another one, a famous one, is called Sense and Sensibility.
Yes, Sense and Sensibility, directed by Ang Lee, very notable film director from our island here. And so from the 12th to the 21st of September in Bath, England, you can attend the Jane Austen Festival. And it will be an opportunity to learn more about Jane Austen. There will be talks given about her writing. There will be theatrical presentations, stagings of scenes from some of the books. And there will also be something called a promenade, the Grand Regency Promenade. Rebecca, what is that word, promenade?
Well, when you think of a promenade, you think of people walking. So it could be like among the street, the sidewalk, you walk on the promenade. And in this promenade, you have about 1,000 people. They're all dressed up as Jane Austen characters and people from Jane Austen's time. And they walk together in this interesting parade through Bath.
Right, and the idea, of course, is to create a feeling for other people that you are actually in Bath, the city of Bath, in Jane Austen's time, from, basically the beginning of the 19th century, the early 1800s. It's a period called the Regency era because at the time a regent was ruling England. What's a regent? Someone who rules in place of the normal ruler. In this case, it was the son of King George III, who was not yet dead but was not fit to rule as a king at that time. So his son, who would be George IV, acted as regent during the first decade or so of the 19th century. And for you Netflix fans, you might know a series called Bridgerton, which has been very popular recently, at least in some parts of the world, and that is also set in the Regency era. Most of Jane Austen's, in fact all of Jane Austen's novels were set in the Regency era. of English history. It was the time in which she lived. It was the time in which she knew and wrote about. And if you lived, Rebecca, in the Regency era, particularly as a woman, you would probably want to own at least one bonnet. It's another vocabulary word for you. What is a bonnet, Rebecca?
Well, bonnet is that cloth hat that women from that period, women and girls from that period, they would wear. So that keeps the sun off your face, a cloth hat. And actually, I'm so glad I'm not a woman from Jane Austen's time, because women back then had to get married. Because if you did not get married, you didn't get an education, you didn't have financial independence, so you had to get married, or you wouldn't, have financial security. So a lot of Jane Austen's writing is actually about marriage and women being treated kind of like economic objects because they need to depend on the men in their lives.
Yes, very important point, and it's something that gives Jane Austen's novels a richness in addition to the plot and the characters, which are also very compelling. But yeah, there is also in her novels these social themes about life in the Regency era, particularly life for women, and Austen will very often, in addition to telling a good story and characters that we care about, she will offer a critique of those social circumstances for women. A critique means an evaluation of something to determine how its strengths and its weaknesses, usually in a negative sense. To critique something means to point out its flaws, although it can point out positive things as well. But from Jane Austen's perspective, and indeed from our perspective too, things weren't very good for women back in the Regency era. Certainly not among the sort of middle and lower classes. If you went to the upper classes, things were kind of interesting there, but still not if you were a woman. But this is something that Jane Austen, the writer, can do, Rebecca, because of another vocabulary word we have for you. Jane Austen was perceptive. What does perceptive mean?
Someone who is perceptive is someone who observes very well, and then they see things, they see trends, they see what people are like. So someone who is perceptive has sharp eyes, they see the things around them very well.
Right, and often perceptive can mean they see things around them that most other people don't see. If someone is particularly insightful in that way, we'll call them perceptive because they will see things that the rest of us might miss. And that's one thing that Jane Austen had, and she wove that perception of her times into her novels. So again, they have this richness, in addition to the wonderful stories, the dialogue, the humor, the drama of her novels. She also has these perceptive critiques of the Regency era, and particularly the role of women, the role of marriage, the power of love, the great themes really that you find in most novels. Anyway, the Jane Austen Festival happening in Bath, England from September 12th to the 21st. If you consider yourself to be a perceptive person and like to offer critiques, you may want to go to the Jane Austen Festival, or at least go down to your local bookstore here in Taipei or wherever you're watching from and pick up something by Jane Austen that you haven't read yet and enjoy yourself in that way. For us, though, that's it for this month. We have to bid you farewell, but we do invite you to come back next month when we will have another cultural event to tell you about and help you practice your English at the same time. For today, though, I'm Peter.
I'm Rebecca saying goodbye.
Bye-bye.